The woman couldn't believe her eyes.
Her son with Ed hat was silently watching someone play chess. To confirm her suspicions, she watched an old man set up a game.
She had to ask him to teach her son the next game.
She just wanted to see how long her son could concentrate. Her son surprised her by winning in just 4 moves
To put the old man in checkmate.
Checkmate. The woman was amazed. Could her son be a genius? She was eager to see the outcome, but the old man wouldn't make another move and angrily kicked them out. At first, the woman found it baffling, yet the more she thought, the happier she got. Could it be that her son was being underestimated? So she rushed home to arrange another chess match between her husband and her son. But the husband was skeptical after hearing about the part. He said, and was sure his wife was exaggerating. However, an hour later,
He couldn't laugh anymore,
he not only got crushed,
but bully took down his son's pawn.
what's more shocking is his son played blind chess while taking a bath. Such a frightening talent, enough to drive any parent insane. But George's reaction was unexpectedly calm. The next day, he took his son to the chess club, but after aimlessly looking around,
For some reason, he chose to give up again. Before leaving, he saw his son playing chess in the hall.
his spirited foe was crushed. This further highlighted his son's strength, but George kept hesitating and still chose to leave. After that, he took his son to park chess daily. His son not only had fun, but also made some friends. He thought this was great
Until one day,
when the chess club's master Bruce unexpectedly came to him.
that's when he found out
That the big bearded guy his son defeated was no nobody, but a top-notch expert. Bruce was willing to take his son as a disciple at half price. Yet George still refused.
he had tried to foster his son's hobbies over the years. All failed due to his son's lack of focus.
But Bruce did not give up. He followed George home and played puzzle games with his son all day. Then, quite confidently, he told George, your son doesn't have that habit. It's just too quick-witted, leading to impatience. Let me take him under my wing. I'll make him a chess god everyone respects. George could no longer stay composed after hearing this.
He quickly paid the tuition. He started pushing his kid to excel.
The laid-back and pushy parents are a mixed message. Months later, George took his son to the youth tournament. They had just arrived at their hotel. A parent came over to compare, asked what rank his son had in chess. George was still adjusting to the changes his son brought. Seeing the numbers on the wall, he lied instinctively to deal with it.
The other parent paused for a moment.
Then displayed a puzzled expression. Turns out no such ranks exist in chess. So, until the next day before the match,
When he met George,
they couldn't help but laugh. George could only feign calmness. This match had an eerie vibe even before it started. The organizers ignored the chaotic children, instead opting to lecture the quiet parents, warning them not to shout. No mocking each other, and definitely no glares at each other. At first, George found it all quite puzzling, but after the match began, as his son battled fiercely with the rival, he stealthily eyed the opposing parents. He noticed they were truly glaring at him. Just when he didn't know how to respond, 2 parents of 4 unexpectedly started fighting. The reason? One had just scratched his ear, and the others thought he was signaling. As a result, all the parents got involved and were booted from the field. The kids found it quite amusing. They happily started clapping. In contrast, the overambitious parents were locked together, and the vibe felt extremely hot. Some paced back and forth nervously, while others trembled, praying to God. Even though George was slowly stirred by emotions, he kept staring at the ranking on the wall. Later, his son was unstoppable as he advanced, and parents kept approaching him. What seemed like casual chat was really probing for secrets and competing. This
finally sparked his competitive spirit.
in the final match, his son and the rival were intensely clenched. Meanwhile, George's game with the opponent's parents was even more thrilling. With each move on the board, someone would rush over to report that his son lost a pawn. George looked upset. Then, the opponent's parent offered comfort. Don't worry, your son will find his way out. He then sincerely patted George on the shoulder. But soon after, his son took out the rival's major piece. George was about to laugh, but quickly composed himself. Then, he warmly consoled his foe. It's alright, your son must be strategizing. In the end, he also patted the opponent's shoulder warmly.
But once he turned around,
A confident smirk appeared on his face. This boldness lasted long, even on the train ride home. He had a stand of his demeanor. However, once his son fell asleep, he quietly toyed with the trophy.
he couldn't help but laugh.
Then, he took his son to contests.
Each trophy filled him with pride as a father.
Soon, he grew used to interviews. He even started enjoying how other parents looked at him.
With envy and admiration mixed,
Yet, at the parent meeting that day, the teacher doused him with cold water. She said that frequent absences would not only hinder his studies,
and made it hard to fit in with peers.
though it was softly said, George still sensed the doubts. Usually gentle, he rarely lost his temper, but now he did. I know how to raise my child. It's not even 8. He surpassed all my achievements in half a lifetime. Do you realize how laughable your doubts are? My son is already better than any of you. That evening, George discussed transferring schools with his son. The new school's facilities are nicer. Plus, it has chess classes. But his son avoided eye contact. He hesitantly said it was fine. One day, his son suddenly asked him, what happens if I lose? The once laid-back George always said winning and losing are common.
But now,
He firmly told his son, you won't lose. Your opponents fear you. The next day at the match, George, as usual, awaited news of his son, but just 10 minutes later, his son came out. He shockingly lost to his opponent in the first round, and he made only 7 moves. George could hardly accept it in the heavy rain. He urged his son to think, but he didn't notice his son had lost his sport. After that, his son seemed cursed, starting a losing streak. George was quite distraught, very let down. Little did he know, his son Josh was struggling and conflicted inside. His strife matched his father's.
First time watching chess in the park, Josh quickly liked the sport.
That fast-paced thinking, it fit his taste well, but he didn't like the feeling of competition. Because many games there had stakes, the losers always have frowns. So when playing chess with his dad, he sent silent signals to play blindfolded, just to miss his father's losing luck. After beating the big guy at chess class, seeing him looking so dejected, he quickly offered his candy as an apology. However, later his father took him to another park, realizing winning or losing can bring laughter. He had a lot of fun there. One day, Bruce suddenly entered his life. He opened up a whole new world for him. During the first chess lesson, Bruce set up an endgame, but before Josh could think it through, he swept all the pieces off the board, then made Josh plan on the empty board. Josh found it quite interesting. He found the right answer.
Bruce was very pleased.
As a reward, he carefully took out a piece of paper from his bag. This action made Josh think it must be a priceless treasure. Bruce said it was a certificate for a chess master. You exist in the world, and behind each one is an inspiring story. Because Josh just performed beautifully,
Bruce gave him 10 points in his notebook.
When he reaches 2,000 points, I will award you the certificate. Seeing Josh's desire for this honor, Bruce quickly took back the certificate. He even gently smoothed the corners with care. After that, when Josh was restless,
Bruce would show the certificate to inspire him. Soon, Josh played chess for the certificate.
Later, Josh dominated the competition. For the first time, he saw his father proud of him. From then on, he had another reason to play chess until one day, his dad had a big fight with the teacher.
He got home and asked to transfer schools.
Josh was initially reluctant. He didn't want to leave his teachers and friends, but his father earnestly said, "You're a genius, destined to walk a different path." That night, Josh bore the weight of his genius, but just a day later, Josh was at the park.